So what's up, Joy? Here we go, y'all. Y'all ready? Joy, I had like 2.5 hours sleep last night. I was in here working on. I'm trying to fancy up my little home studio, and I was up working all night trying to get this camera to work. And then Tim comes downstairs at 4 o'clock. He goes, Don, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. I'm working. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Well, I went to bed an hour before you, so tell Tim it's
God.
not just you, it's me. Because Jason and Tim could have a group chat. Like they might need a group chat. I think our hubbies need a group chat.
I can barely complete. You know when you get, I'm so tired. I used to have to go on TV like this, and now I'm here. I can't even put 2 sentences together. But Joy, what the hell happened? What happened?
Should I turn the light on? It's like the light. Why is it sunny where you are and dark where I am? Isn't that weird?
Oh, it's just I was working on my lighting last night. I got diffusers and all kinds of stuff.
I'm turning my light on.
All right.
It's so dark. Okay.
See, now the light's coming on. We're fixing to we fit to find out what happened.
Turn the lights on.
So Joy, what happened? Because I thought you were going to be there. There was reporting. I understand you can't go into specific on certain things because we have contractual obligations.
That's right.
People. And sometimes people are like, well, why haven't you found a job yet? We have like non-competes and shit. Like you guys have no idea what's happening. So we have to make our own way in this world in a way where we can still collect our currents and have other currents on top of that. So Joy, what happened at the MSNBC?
Because weirdly enough, the car note people still want their money.
I know. And the mortgage
people are like, we still gonna need that money.
Yeah.
We still need to pay. Right. And I think it is funny because I think people assume that if you're on TV, you're like independently wealthy and you don't have to pay bills. No, we still have to pay bills, y'all. It's a job. It's a normal job. So, it was a surprise. I will say that. I think I can, without violating any terms of my contract, I think I can say that I was surprised because a week before any of this happened, the last communications I was having with, the PR folks at work were that we had won the NAACP Image Award for the readout for the show. And that I'd won for the book from Edgar and Murley as well. But that, we just won an NAACP Image Award literally for the readout. And it was we were really super proud of it because it was the Brittany Griner interview was what we submitted to NAACP Image Award. And I felt like that interview and being blessed to have her choose us to do her first interview when she came out of that Russian gulag where she had been locked up for this nightmare. And I know you and I both read that book, and it was just a terrifying ordeal. Mm-hmm. And so we were really proud. And I was very proud of what the things we were doing on the readout that stepped out of the basic. We tried to really go deep on history, go deep on things that aren't comfortable to talk about, like Christian nationalism, white Christian nationalism, which really is plaguing our country. And when I would do that, I didn't do it from a point of view of, hey, this is the Black lady talking about white Christians. I would have on Robbie Jones, who is my friend from Public Religion Research Institute, the foremost scholar on white Christian nationalism, and himself a white Christian. Like, we really tried to be smart about doing deep dives on things that you see in the news and you're like, why is that happening? And try to make connections for people. So I really genuinely didn't see it coming. None of my team did. And this leak happens the night of the sort of, I think it was the Friday night, this leak just drops. Dylan Byers, former CNN former CNN guy who now does a Substack, I think, drops this leak. And we were just like, and I'm thinking that doesn't even seem right because I really just re-signed my contract. So, I just signed again this year. So I couldn't really tell you. I can't explain what happened because I can't get in the heads of my bosses. But then I got the confirmation that Saturday, and that was that.
Yeah. So look, I'd never said this, but I'd just gotten the White House Correspondents' Dinner invitation from from management to go, and it's like, okay, this is cool, whatever. And then let's see, Tim was out of town at a conference, and I was sitting in a restaurant by myself, and the monitors were on, and they made an announcement about Charles and Gail, and I'm like, well, that came fast out of nowhere. That was really rushed.
Right.
And then I went back to work after that weekend, and that's when I went to work on a Monday, and then they called me after I was had already gone to work.
Wow.
And someone called me from the team, one of the crew guys, and said, I wanted to tell you on Monday, I was wondering why they had taken your name off the wall of the studio. with all
Wow.
of and I didn't even know it. So other people knew before I did.
Wow.
Which was, yeah.
I think the only reason other people quote unquote kind of knew before I did is because that leak, and I, I'm very anti-leak. I don't leak. I try to be very careful about it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
journalists, so we know not to talk to journalists. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very careful about that.
Yeah, you
So
were like, I was like, Joy, what's going on? I'm hearing things.
I wouldn't
You're
leak to
like,
Don, and Don is my friend in real life.
you
Okay,
will not leak. She wouldn't say. I was like, Joy, what's going on? Talk to me. She goes, oh, I'm good. I'm like, okay.
I promise you all, Don, and like I said, we are friends, and I was like, I wouldn't even leak to Don. Like, that's how I don't leak. I just don't do it.
You
So
can't
when
do
that
it 'cause you
leak
don't
came
know.
out, members of my team who read Puck or who were subscribed to it saw it and started panicking because, it was so out of left field and out of the blue. And again, because we had just won the award and everything seemed so fine, that there was nothing that had happened, nothing that had presaged it. So it definitely was out of the blue. And like you said, what happens is it starts to become a rumor, and you're not sure whether the rumor is real until you get the actual phone call saying it's real. And so you don't know really how to respond to it in advance of that. And it's unfortunate.
Really.
It's unfortunate. I think that, it's not the way I would have done things, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, you can't respond, like, contractually, you can't respond.
I cannot.
We're not supposed to talk to the media, right? And so,
right. And I don't.
Which actually, I believe, puts corporations or companies in a position. I think, well, it puts the employee in an unfair position because we can't defend ourselves. And then if you do defend yourself, they'll say, oh, you're leaking or you shouldn't be talking and you violated your contract. And it's like, and a lot of the things that you read, most of what you read has been planted by people. And it is not necessarily true, but the people who write the first draft gets to write the narrative, because everybody else, the reporters, are lazy. They just go and they write the same story over and over. They don't even call for a comment. And it's like, and even if they do, you're like, I can't talk about it. So they end up believing what other people have planted and leaked about you, whether it's other people or whether it's a company or whether it's a PR, whoever it is. I'm just saying, I'm not saying.
Don't know. Yeah. Because no one knows where they come from. I mean, only the journalists know.
From.
I don't
know where they come from.
I don't know.
In order to get, let me be real. You want to get rid of a black woman at a company. I'm just saying, any company. You want to get rid of a gay black man at any company. You have got to come up with a narrative and a predicate to do it. And you have to try to destroy them because then you don't want people going, well, they're going to sue us for racism. And they're right. No, you have to try to destroy their personality and their credibility. And that's all I have to say. And I'm going to tell it like it is. Okay. And so I don't like that. I don't like it when that happens to people. I just think it's unfair. So I'm telling you, I'm not bitter. I don't think you're bitter, but just don't believe everything you read. And I wish the best for my colleagues at CNN. I love them. I miss them terribly. But the truth is the truth, and the truth will make you free. That's all I have to say. You didn't say it, I did.
I have no comment further about it. All I can really say is that one of the things that I do, that I have to say, and I think it is important to say, is one of the great things about MSNBC that I will say something really positive is that the way that we all moved as friends, Rachel, Nicole, Alex, Steph Rule, Lawrence, the beloved Lawrence. So we actually dig each other. Like, we actually really like each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, you can't fake that, and I think it's so important that people understand that the on-air chemistry that you saw, Chris Hayes, all of us, when we're sitting around that set, and all chilling, that was real. Like, we actually didn't fake that. You know what I mean? Like, we really are cool. We're actually still cool. We're friends. It's a thing that is like a magic that can happen when executives are picking random people, right? And they're people who come from all different walks of life. We're different political parties, different political ideologies. It is actually a science and an art to put those people together and have them actually have chemistry, right? Like, you and I have chemistry because we know each other and we're cool and friendly. You can't invent that. Like, you couldn't make us pretend to be friends. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
so
right.
I have to give the company, it was, and at least in my era, it was Phil Griffin who was in charge at that time. But whatever. It just, I feel like there was a magic that definitely happened at MSNBC that somehow caused all these very different, unique people to just have this great bond. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I'm very proud to have been a part of that. I'm very happy to have been be able to experience that in my professional life.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a cool thing. I'm still friends with some of my people from Radio One back in the day. You know what I mean? Some of my Radio One people, I'm still with them as well. Like when you create those kind of relationships, Rev is my big brother, then I knew him when we were on radio. So it's like
I'm doing something for him for the NAND conference.
Yeah, exactly. Katie Fang, that's my girl. You know what I mean?
Gosh,
Like it's like
her.
and even people who used to be there, Tiffany Cross, that's my sister. It's like, Melissa Harris Perry, that's my sister. Like we've created these relationships that are real. And I think it's important to know that that's real. And don't feel like you were played to the left over the last, was I there 14 years? You weren't. We really were cool.
Yeah, and I do have to say, look, when you work at an organization like a CNN and MSNBC, it really is an honor and a privilege to have been there. And it was great, like the best in the world. Yeah. CNN, it's like, if something happens internationally, it's over.
Listen.
MSNBC cannot compete with that. You know that, right?
Listen, Christiane Amanpour, I'll make it, I never met Christiane Amanpour until last year. Our show, we got nominated for an Emmy. I was so excited. So we went to the News Emmys. And Christiane Amanpour was there, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah!" I'm like such a stan. Like the way people would be if they saw Beyonce. That's how I am when I met Christiane Amanpour. I was like that the first time I met you, so you don't remember. I stand out on you. The first time I met you, David Wilson introduced us at an event, and I hope you don't remember because I was embarrassing. I said, "Oh my God, Todd Lemon, I'm such a big fan." You're probably like, "Get out!" You're like, "Who are you, crazy weirdo?" But I was like, "Todd Lemon, oh my God."
No. I'm old. I've been around. No, Joy, I've just been in awe of you, and I watch your show and I just go, wow, this is so well produced, and you were so bold. And I know people would get upset. And so look, I have you and we're going there and people are going to write about it and talk about it. Did it have anything, let's just say yes or no. I don't want to answer. Do you think there was any racism involved?
I have no evidence of anything. I don't know. Okay. I have no evidence. No.
Do you think it was your support of Palestine? Not that you were anti-Israel, but was it, you think that had anything to do with it?
I have no idea. Like I said, I refuse to try to get into the brains of other people. I don't know. I genuinely have to be honest. I'm not making this up. I'm not spinning. I have no idea. I think they made a decision. The decision has been made. That's all I can say. People made a decision. The decision's been made. I don't know why.
I don't want to get you in trouble because I'm always the one to get in trouble. So I'm used to that's my daily existence. Okay. The other thing is, can we talk about, because we love them, right? And they replaced you with some very talented people, and we love Simone. She's a friend, right? And we love Michael. And so this has nothing to do with them, Jonathan, or any of the other folks who are still there, right? We wish them well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I had a show in 2014 called The Reid Report that was canceled.
I remember. It was you and what's his name? Oh my, Ronan Farrow.
Ronan was right. Roro. We call
your lead in, right?
Where Roro was I think I was his lead in.
You were his lead in.
Me and we used to do this handoff. We used to want to go on Watch What Happens. We were like, we need to be on. Like they need to book us on Watch What Happens because we were such a sitcom, because our handoffs became more and more extravagant. Oh, Joy, my friend, you are the light of my life. Oh, Ronan, you're the most brilliant young person I've ever met in my life. Like we started once we started realizing how funny it was to people, we just started racking it up. I don't know why no one ever booked us on Watch What Happens. It really should have been. Really should have been.
Alex was on that same thing. Was she your lead? There was someone. It was you, Alex.
No, because so the lineup used to be, because Alex Wagner was the noon show.
Right.
So Alex was at noon. I was at 2, because remember the Tam fam, before Tam was in the Tam fam, Tam was the 2 o'clock. When Tam went to the Today Show, and she was such a huge supporter of why I got the 2. She was one of the people that really believed in me and supported me, that I got the 2 and replaced her. So then it was Alex Wagner. She did the noon, and Michael Steele used to be a regular. I met Michael Steele on Alex Wagner's show because he was a regular guest. And so I used to spar with Michael Steele on there. She was the 12. I was the 2, and Martin Bashir. Remember Martin Bashir? Martin was the 4, who was my other big supporter. And then the 5 and my buddy. I'm still buddies with Martin. And then the 5 was, of course, Hardball, which was on the air. Believe it or not, I think Hardball was on there for like 20 years. That was like the longest running show on MSNBC was Hardball. So back in the day, that was the Dayside lineup.
I love it. I think it was it was SNL that used to do. How about a hardball? Like,
how about a hardball? And it's funny,
a hardball.
People used to compare me to Chris when I used to be on radio because I also go ha, and so people would, whenever I would do that, people would be like, "Oh my God, you're the Black woman, Chris Matthews." And it's just ironic that he really became a mentor to me. I do absolutely love Chris. He is a character. Like you would have to invent that character if he didn't exist. Like he just is a character.
Can we talk about the girl power? And I don't mean that as a pejorative, calling you girl, but between you and Rachel and oh my gosh, why can't I'm having
and Nicole
and Nicole, you guys were just the most brilliant, and you had chemistry all together. It was fantastic.
Again,
you had a progressive, you had a conservative, and then Rachel is progressive or whatever, and so in the middle. But what was that like working with, especially such a powerhouse like Rachel Maddow?
It was so fun, and just being able to watch her work, because I knew we were friends and we were friendly, but it's like we really got to watch her work up close. Her process, her process is like intense. Like she's like Rhodes Scholar brilliance. She's in there typing, and we got to watch her do it. And of course, me and Nicole are cutting up trying to distract her while she's trying to type her opus. But no, it was one of those things. Again, I give Phil credit. I'm gonna give Phil Griffin credit. It was his brainchild, and then Rashida Jones expanded it and added the full table. But it was one of those things that either would have really worked or it would have bombed. You know what I mean? Like you're taking 3 people, and it's weird because I knew who Nicole Wallace was because I quit the news business when I used to work at WTVJ, the Miami affiliate, because I was against the Iraq War. And I went and took Wellstone action training, the same training that Tim Walz took. I think he took it the year after I did. And I went and I worked as a press secretary for America Coming Together, which was George Soros's $260 million to try to oust George W. Bush, because I was deeply anti-war. Nicole Wallace was a big deal in the Bush campaign in 2004. So we literally fought on opposite sides of that war. That's how opposite we were. Then
was she the press person or just an advisor?
She was an advisor. I think at that time she was on the press side, but I know I had heard her name. So I think because we were both press, but I was so low level, she was way high above me. Then of course she went in the Bush White House. And so she was a very well-known, and she would be always on the shows. You'd see her. So I knew who Nicole Wallace was, but we didn't meet until she came to MSNBC. Mm-hmm. And then of course, Rachel is this, sort of luminary who came from Air America. She was on the radio. I used to listen to her show. And so it's like, it's this interesting thing where you take these 3 very unlike people who are very different, and you just throw them together and just see what happens. And at first, Brian used to be the 4th wheel, and then it was just the 3 of us.
Right.
Remember, it used to be the 3 of us, and Brian was and then he was at this other table, and Brian is so funny.
Brian does impressions. I have a Brian. I haven't done it in a long time.
Okay, do it. Do your Brian Williams. You have to do it.
When Brian was, I worked at the NBC station. Oh, I worked with Brian. At first, I was at the network NBC in New York, and I was a correspondent in the New York bureau. And I would fill in on MSNBC and on Weekend Today show. And then and Soledad and David were the anchors then.
Oh my God.
And then I was there when David Bloom died. And then, Katie came in and whatever, and they woke me up in the middle of the night and said, David Bloom died. You should be prepared to whatever when you come in. So, that was a long time ago, right? Wow. So I've been around for a while. But I used to do Brian because Brian, good evening. we would joke about when he was in Katrina. It was just a joke. This isn't real.
Yeah.
And so we would put our leg up on the desk and we'd say, good evening. It's hot. It's wet. I'm wearing breathable khakis and I'm surrounded by Black people. I love
that is Brian. So good.
Good we come to you tonight from New Orleans. It is hot. It's wet. And I'm surrounded by Black people.
That is amazing. Like, actually, that is the most amazing thing.
Brian, I love you.
I love Brian. Can I just tell you, when at that time that you were working with Brian used to come down every so often. Sometimes the big wigs would come to WTVJ when I was working in local news. Brian was the one guy who would come in and he would talk to everybody.
Yeah,
He was so
he's
friendly,
like
and
that.
I was a digital producer at the time, so I was the lowest of the low. No, I was like nobody. And he would walk right up to my desk and say, "I can't do the voice." Like, "Hello, young lady. What do you do?" And he was so nice. Like it was one of those things where you knew who this was. So you're like, this very famous person could either be really nice or they could be really an asshole. He was super nice. And he
Yeah,
was nice like that to everybody. So I
he
love
was.
Brian
They
Williams.
all
He was a
Brian,
hoot.
Lester. You know, the first person I really Tom, I was there when Tom Brokaw was there. I
Ah,
used to file stories for nightly news and on the weekend because I was the new guy. Remember John Siegenthaler? He was the weekend.
yes.
Yes, I'm old. Damn.
Look, I'm
Okay.
old and I'm old and I'm also a geek. The other time I geeked out, in addition to yourself, is when I finally met Ted Koppel, because Ted Koppel is the
Oh
person who got me
wow.
interested in news in the first place. Because I, in the sixth grade, I'm aging myself, when the Iran hostage crisis happened. I was watching a show about it, and they were calling it was like the 360-day. It wasn't called Nightline yet, but they were just covering it. And Ted Koppel was covering it on ABC News. And I got so obsessed with it. I was like, "Mom, can I stay up and watch this?" And she was like, "Okay, it's news, so you can do it." And I would sit up every
Mm.
night. I would watch the 10
Ted
o'clock,
Koppel.
11 o'clock news, and I would stay up and watch Nightline. And Ted Koppel was like my entry into fascination with news. It's how I knew who Bibi Netanyahu was and how I got really interested in Middle East issues, is that I would watch Bibi Netanyahu and Hanan Ashrawi, who was the
Oh my
leader of
God.
the Palestinian, right? Hanan Ashrawi. And I've
Yeah.
actually now gotten to like text with Hanan Ashrawi, and I was like bugging out because I'm such a fan. But like, yeah, I would. And so Bibi Netanyahu to me was this guy who'd be on nightly, on ABC. I'd see him with Ted Koppel debating Hanan Ashrawi, and so it's like it's one of those things where if you're a news nerd, like these are your celebrities, you know what I mean? So when I finally met Ted Koppel, I go up to him. He was inside 30 Rock. I see him standing, and this was ahead of the 2012 election. And I'm at the Griot. I was managing editor of the Griot. And I go up to him and I said, "Oh my God, Mr. Koppel, I'm such a huge fan." I tell him the story of how he got me interested in news. And he said, "Well, thank you so much, young lady. And look at your dimples. Those are priceless."
You're like, oh my
He
God.
complimented my dimples. I'm like, I feel kind of seen.
You know, we all have little stories like that. I remember I grew up idolizing Brian Gumbel, right? Brian's going to be mad at me, but because he's going to say, "You make me
I
seem
did too.
old." I grew up idolizing and wanted
Same.
to be him. I would watch the Today Show with him and Jane Pauley, and then him
Yep.
later with
Me
Katie.
too.
And I would record the opens to their show, and I would like mimic them back, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. And those are the stories. This Monday, July 25th, 1991. And then they would go, dun, 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 and I was like, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to be like Brian Gumbel. And now Brian is like a really good friend. I went to dinner with him the other night. It's amazing to just have had the experiences that we've had in this business and more to come. And when you're in this independent business, so tell us, when you're in this independent journalism business, what's up? What's next for you? Where can we find you?
So right now you can find me at joyannereid.com. That is my Substack. I'm writing a daily read, R-E-I-D. You see what I did there? It's like it's a read pun. I'm always got a read pun. I try to keep my husband's name out there. But yeah, I'm doing the Substack right now and writing that every day. And I'm obviously still doing all my social media, but I am planning to do something like what you're doing right here, sir. And one of the things that I love about what you're doing, and I really enjoy, I am a lemonhead with all of the rest of the lemonheads out there. And because I think that this format is so smart and it is so accessible to people. And this is the future, right? Like this is where it's going. And all we got to do is get my godmother and the other seasoned citizens to figure out how to use YouTube. And we in there.
Oh my God. It's a learning curve. It really is a learning curve, but people will find you. Let me just tell you, you're going to do really well because you've got the personality, you've got the name recognition. You can do it. And you've got the gumption to be able to do this, right? As a young kid say, aura, you've got aura. So I think you're going to do really well.
Thank you.
If I can offer you some advice.
Please, I need it.
Don't think about it too much. I had to wait a little bit before I could even do something. And so don't like try to make it perfect, too perfect. Don't let perfect, be the enemy of the good. Just jump into it and do it. People like who you are. They like you like this in the t-shirt, no makeup or whatever. They love it. So just do it. I started off, I spent a ton of money on a studio and lights and cameras. And my audience is like, no, we like you. I'm in my dining room right now.
Yeah.
They're like, we like you at home. And then, you know, when it's cold in the winter or whatever, I do it in front of the fireplace in my living room. So just do what you want to do, but don't wait too long.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect. And I would say to you, you've got to be fearless. You cannot give a fuck what people think about you, about what you're doing, because a lot of the folks who are, you know, in other places don't understand where this whole thing is going. And one day they're going to have to end up doing this. I feel late to the party already. And so, you know what I'm saying? And pretty soon,
I do too. Right.
And it's going to be like people coming out. They're like, oh, well, nobody coming out. Nobody cares anymore. But so do it. Get in now. The water is good. Get in.
Absolutely. And my husband is in a big I told you so on this, because he's been saying for years that this is like the future. This is the thing. But, you know, like I said, you and I both, we came from, you know, we both have done radio. I came from talk radio. I came from local news. You know, I come from this.
I used to do Tom Joyner, remember?
Yes, I used to listen to you on Tom. That's why I came up to you like a geek with David Wilson, because I used to listen to you. But it's like these experiences, I actually think are great preparation for this, because radio to me is the most equivalent to both cable and this, right?
Yeah.
Because talk radio, and what I used to love about talk radio, and shout out James T. Thomas, my mentor, James T., who I worked for, and I was his producer, and then I became his co-host, and he's just a huge and wonderful mentor to me. And the reality is, what I love the most about talk radio, and I think what you love the most about doing this, Don, is the interaction with the listeners. Because we used to take calls. Baby, I used to love to take a call, especially the crazy ones.
Right.
Like some people used to call us and we would just debate them back and forth, and it was just so interesting. But
you can do it now. Look at your screen. Do you see what's on your screen?
I can barely see it because my screen is small where I'm
looking. Well, the comments are right here. It's like, and you're right. This is it's like radio.
Yeah.
You have to, you're going to have to come up with things. People are like, oh, it's so easy when they come off of like, you know, traditional TV or whatever. They'll say, it's so easy. I used to do TV live 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm like, it's not that easy.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. You don't have 3 producers to do and hair and makeup and someone putting on your light. And you walk into a studio that's already lit with camera equipment and production people. You know what I'm saying? It's not that easy.
Well, one thing I'm going to say, Don, and I'm just going to say, there's a difference between the men's and the women. Baby, I'm going to have hair and makeup on, though. I'm not going to add hair because I took off my hair, but baby, we going to be made up. You know what I mean? I'm on my day off today. That's why
There's nothing. No,
and we
makeup.
Friends. So I'm like, we cool like that, but I'm going to have to probably get some hair and makeup.
Well, you look good. Don't overthink it. But I love you. You're going to be great. And congratulations. I'm sorry it had to happen this way. And, you know, I can relate. But you're good. You're going to be good, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. And look, you and I think you feel the same way, because I feel like what you did at CNN paved the way for me. There haven't been too many Black folks who've been able to do it. We now do have, 2 sisters that are doing it at CNN. Abby Huntsman, my soror, is doing it as well. And so, but it's new, right? I remember the first time I met Gwen Ifill in 2015. I was in Selma covering the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, and I saw her across the street. And just like how I love Bryant Gumbel too. I can just picture you were in New Orleans and I was in Denver, and we were both at home watching the same Today Show episodes,
Right.
And at the same time, I just didn't know we would ever be friends. But Gwen Ifill was the only Black woman. She was one of only 2 Black women. Carol Simpson and Gwen Ifill were the only Black women I really ever saw, and the only other person of color was Connie Chung. So I loved all 3 of them. And I remember Gwen Ifill was the one who looked the most like me. You just didn't really see a brown skinned Black woman with short hair. I was like, this woman is like me. And so when I saw her in person for the first time in 2015, when I tell you I ran across the street without seeing if a car was coming, I could have got licked down by a car, but I ran to Gwen Ifill with my arms open like, Gwen Ifill, oh my God, I'm such a fan. And she could have been like, get away from me, crazy ass, get away. But instead, she opened her arms, she wrapped me up in a big hug. She recognized me from having been a frequent guest on Melissa Harris Perry's show. So at least she knew I wasn't a stalker. And she gave me a hug and she said, She gave me so many words of encouragement. She was so
Mhm.
kind. She was so encouraging. And she was exactly what you would want Gwen Ifill to be. She was really an idol to me. Love her so much. And of course, her cousin Sherilyn is equally amazing. And it's like that's the kind of affirmation that you get that tells you you're doing the right thing, that you're in this business for a reason. And I definitely feel like God put me on this earth to do this, to try
Yeah.
to make it make sense for people, this horrible, complicated mess that is our country. And I think, and God put you on this earth for that reason too, Don. And so we got to do what God has instructed us to do.
Look, I borrow from folks, so I borrowed from Bryant Gumbel. I call it borrowing.
Yeah.
I borrowed from Wendy Williams. Like,
Oh, yes.
Wendy would sit there and just like sit in her windiness and whatever. You can
Oh,
like
I
her.
love her.
But
Yes.
she's very talented. She's a very talented bride.
One of the best to ever do it.
Because she was on radio.
Yes.
It was really good. And people don't give her credit because they think, oh, she was a gossip, whatever. And a lot of folks don't like her because she gossiped about them. But just her talent to be able to do what she did, I recognize that. I stole Hot Topics from her. She stole it from borrowed. She borrowed it from Barbara Walters. Who else did? And then I remember Gwen Ifill. I went to, I think it was my first NABJ convention back in the day. And I had this little tape. And I went there to, when you go into the job fair, right?
Yep.
And they review your tape. And she looked at me, she goes, oh my God, you're so good. She goes, how did you learn to read the teleprompter like that? And I was like, Gwen Ifill? She was gassing me up, but she made me feel good like I could do it. Yeah. And just the little things, amazing. We have so many people. Remember, we stand on the shoulders of people like her and our ancestors who've been here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Max Robinson and the Bryant Gumbels of the world and the Gwen Ifills of the world.
Yes.
And let's not forget about Sue Simmons. I love
Sue Simmons.
I borrowed Live at 5 from Sue Simmons, by the way. You see what's on the screen, Live at 5. That was from Sue Simmons.
Sue Simmons, baby. And she did. Look, I love her. She's the most fearless DGAF sister in the media business ever. I love her.
Yeah.
Love her.
I love you too. Okay, so catch
you.
Joy.
It's a love fest.
JoyAnnReid.com, Substack, and then also her social media. And then make sure you stay tuned. She will be doing something in the digital space, streaming, whether it's YouTube or whatever it is that you're planning.
It's going to be YouTube. I can give you that little tea that it will be on YouTube because I want people to be able to watch the Don Lemon show and then watch me. But we're going to make sure we stagger it because we don't want people to have to choose. So, I'm going to avoid the times when you on. We're going to make sure that we stagger.
Yes, do what you do. Establish a relationship with your audience. At first, I was doing 3 episodes a week, canned interviews, and then I said, I want to talk to people. I'm going to do a show in my living room, and I'm going to grow my community. And you will do it. It's different than TV, but you'll see.
Amen. I'm excited about it. I actually am really excited about it. And like I said, I'm keeping one hand out on my team. So if anybody is looking for great producers out there, if you know folks that are hiring, I'm sure they're probably hiring internally too. They'll all be fine. But I just miss my people. But other than that, I'm very excited about the future.
You can turn the world on with a smile. Who can turn the world on with a smile? Who can take a nothing day? Suddenly make it all seem worthwhile.
Well, it's you, girl, and
you should know. And then at the end,
you're gonna make it after all.
Done. I love you.
We aged ourselves. The young people are like, what's that?
Just call me Ted Baxter. Okay.
Auntie and Uncle. Uncle Don and Auntie Joy.
Bye, Joy. I love you.
Love you. Thank you, Don.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
The great Joy Reid joining us on the Don Lemon Show, live at 5 on the Lemon Nation. I told you we would get Joy on. How amazing was that? Thanks, everyone, for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never, ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.